Hello gardener, welcome to my channel. Tithonia, also called Mexican sunflower, is one of the flowering plants that I simply cannot garden without. It is a top flower choice for bringing in the pollinators. Everything from bees to butterflies go crazy for it. Right now I have a huge Tithonia flower patch, which is just a showstopper in my garden. There are a few tips and tricks though to getting this to grow from seed and bloom for many months. So I'm going to share all of my knowledge about growing Tithonia in this video so you can be successful growing it in your garden too. If you're new here, my name is Jara. I've been gardening all of my life and I'm a professional seed and plant nursery. I love to share my knowledge and teach others how to garden and grow food. So you've come to the right place if you want to improve your gardening skills. And if you're looking for some Tithonia seeds, I have a few varieties to choose from on my website. This is my Tithonia patch. It's massive. It's taller than me. It just reseeds around my garden and I am totally okay with that. I was growing some rows of cucumbers on a few trellises in this spot, but after I was done harvesting and cleaned out all of the dying cucumber plants, I just let the Tithonia take over. Sometimes I will pull out seedlings and transplant them in other spots of my garden where I want Tithonia to get established. Not only do the butterflies and bees go crazy over Tithonia all day long, but they attract beneficial insects like hoverflies, whose larvae kill aphids, and minute pirate bugs, which feed on a huge amount of pests, insects, and even worms that munch on your plants. It is such a vigorous grower that some people use it as a plant to generate biomass, which can be used as a chop and drop mulch. This Tithonia that I'm growing has orange colored flowers with botanical name Tithonia rotundifolia. There is a yellow cultivar of Tithonia with botanical name Tithonia diversifolia that is the better choice if you're going to grow it for the chop and drop because it just grows a lot taller. Anyways, let me show you how to germinate Tithonia from seed so you can grow it in your own gardens. First, when should you sow seeds for Tithonia? If you want to get an early start, sow the seeds indoors about 6 weeks before your last spring frost date. Tithonia seedlings grow tall very quickly, so I recommend you sow seeds in at minimum a 4-inch size pot or a solo cup with some drainage holes cut out of the bottom. The most important thing to know about growing Tithonia from seed is that the seeds require light to germinate. So sprinkle the seeds over the soil surface, do not cover with soil, pat them down so they make contact with the soil and don't fly out, and gently water them in. Place the pot under a bright light source to help with germination. It should germinate within 7 to 14 days. You can also just direct sow the seeds outside. If you go that route, then direct sow the seeds after all danger of frost has passed. Tithonia does not like the cold. Find a spot that is in full sun because again, the seeds require light to germinate. Pat the seeds down and water them in. Check the spot every day to make sure the soil stays nice and moist. If it dries out, then they won't germinate very well. Let's discuss Tithonia's ideal growing conditions so you pick the best spot to grow it in your garden. Tithonia is a full sun plant. It can even handle full Florida sun, so 8 hours or more per day. Everything grows great in soil that is rich in compost and organic matter, but Tithonia also does just fine in poor soils like my Florida sandy native soil. I might fertilize the plants once they hit around 1 foot tall just to help it get established, but after that I don't fertilize at all. Tithonia is a wild flower. It doesn't need much to thrive. I don't prune it either unless I want to use it for chop and drop. Consistent soil moisture is required for smaller plants, but once it gets established, I don't water it anymore. The natural rainfall in my area is enough. Established plants are very drought tolerant. These plants get really tall, and if you get hit by an especially windy storm or hurricane, they could fall down. So it helps to grow them next to a fence or something if possible. I actually have my privacy fencing going all the way around. This is a corner of my garden, so there's a lot of protection from the high winds. If you grow out your own transplants, then space the plants 1 foot apart. If you're direct sowing seeds, then sprinkle a few in spots that are about 1 foot apart. But don't worry too much about spacing. These flowers produce a lot of seed that just drops all over the place, which means they germinate and grow close together just fine. You could also grow these in containers or grow bags if you want. I recommend using a 15-gallon or bigger container. Just fill it with straight compost or potty mix and plant away. This orange-colored Tithonia is like a long-lived annual. The plants just keep blooming for months and months. Usually they start to die off once my first winter frost starts moving through my area. And that's if I actually get some cold. Some winters I barely get anything. They reseed all over the place and will start germinating once the warmer temperatures of spring arrive. You could also take spent blooms that have gone to seed and sprinkle them around to keep new plants growing and popping up all of the time. Now that Tithonia is growing in your garden, let's discuss some basic care tips and possible pests or diseases that you might encounter. That way you know how to take care of it. The good thing is that it doesn't have many pest issues. The only things I have noticed were mealybugs and aphids on the younger plants. And that's not good because it will hinder their growth. Spray with spinosad if you see any of those two pests on your plants. Tithonia does get a few leaf diseases though, usually caused by moist or humid conditions, which is exactly the the situation here in my Florida garden all of the time, year round. So don't freak out if you see leaves turning yellow, then eventually brown and drying out. It is very common. You could spray with 1 cup of hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water to clean and disinfect the leaves. This will also help just to slow down the spread of the leaf diseases a little bit. But to be honest, I don't spray Tithonia at all. I just let it be. It's such a vigorous plant. I have never had a disease or pest infestation so bad that it actually killed them. Tithonia flowers anywhere between 2 to 3 months after transplanting into the garden or direct sowing the seed. Just like many flowers, consistent deadheading of spent blooms encourages the plants to keep blooming. If you don't deadhead spent flowers, the plant thinks its life cycle is over, it has produced seed, and will start the process of dying. My Tithonia reseeds all over, that I constantly have new plants growing and blooming, so to be honest, I don't spend time deadheading any of these flowers, but you could if you want. Seriously, Tithonia is one of the easiest flowers you could grow. I think it's even easier than sunflowers. It doesn't have as many pests or disease issues like when I grow sunflowers. Small critters and deer don't like to mess with it either, and it blooms over a longer period of time. Just so you know, you can find a copy of this growing guide on my website, along with my monthly growing guides and unique heirloom seeds and plants. I like to make videos that teach you how to grow things from seed all the way to harvest or bloom, but some people like text that they can copy, print, or save, so you can find all of that on my website. I'll put a link in the description below. I hope this video inspires you to try growing Tithonia in your garden if you have not already. I recommend you watch this video next, all about growing sunflowers. Happy gardening, and thank you for watching.